Brother Sergeant Harlan gazed out into the fog-choked no-man's land, his gas mask's gold goggles reflected in the dull sheen of the rusty steel plate that formed the trench wall. His eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep, and the constant stench of mustard gas hung heavy over the battlefield like a perpetual shroud. The Eternal Front had claimed another day, another batch of fresh recruits sent to their deaths in the name of Christendom's eternal war against the heretic legions. Harlan's thoughts wandered to his own brother, taken by the Veil during one of the countless skirmishes that raged across this godforsaken landscape. The sound of flails striking metal echoed through the trench as a group of inquisitorial death squad marched past, their faces hidden behind gas masks and their tabards stained with the blood of the damned. Harlan's hand instinctively went to the hilt of his plague flail, its wooden handle wrapped in strips of chainmail and the metal head etched with prayers to ward off the whispers that haunted him. As a crusader augmented by demonic grafts, Harlan knew he was already on borrowed time. His body began to warp under the strain of the Veil's power, his limbs growing longer and more twisted as each battle consumed a piece of his soul. He had seen comrades reduced to gibbering husks, their minds shattered by the constant barrage of hellish energies that leaked through every rift in reality. Harlan's thoughts were interrupted by the voice of Brother Thane Aaron, his second-in-command, who stood at the entrance of the trench. "Sergeant, we have a situation developing. Reports of heretic mutants spotted near the Schism Crater." The Eternal Front was a war without end, a stalemate that stretched across continents and decades. Harlan had lost count of the number of battles he'd fought in, the number of trenches he'd dug and redug. Yet, every time they moved to retake ground from the heretics, they were met with resistance. With a heavy sigh, Harlan led his squad out into the fog-shrouded battlefield, their footsteps echoing off the barbed wire cathedrals that scarred the landscape. The air was thick with the stench of death and decay, the only sound the dripping of ichor from the twisted metal spires that rose like thorns from the earth. As they approached the Schism Crater, Harlan could feel the Veil's power coursing through him, drawing his attention to the shifting walls of reality. The ground beneath their feet seemed to writhe and twist, as if alive and screaming in agony. "Brother Aaron," he whispered into the comms link, "we have a situation here. I think we're looking at a schism storm." The voice on the other end was distorted, but Harlan recognized the tone of fear that underlay it. "Aye, Sergeant. We'll send a team to assist you. Hold your ground until they arrive." Harlan watched as the first signs of the storm began to manifest, twisted tendrils of metal and wire writhing like living things from the crater's rim, hellish energies crackling through the air like 1,000 screaming souls. The heretic mutants emerged from the fog, their bodies warped by the power of the Horned One. Harlan recognized one of them as Sister Mutant Valeria, her crystalline eyes fixed on him with an unblinking stare that seemed to see right through his soul. With a growl, Harlan charged forward, his plague flail swinging in wide arcs that ripped through the mutants like a scythe through wheat. The battle was short and brutal, the two sides clashing in a frenzy of steel and flame that lit up the fog-choked night like 1,000 tiny suns. When the dust settled, Harlan stood amidst the carnage, his flails still trembling with the aftershocks of the fight. Valeria lay before him, her body broken but unyielding, for she was not just a mutant, but a vessel for the Horned One's power. Harlan raised his flail to deliver the final blow when he felt it, a surge of energy that seemed to emanate from within himself. The Veil's power coursed through him like liquid fire, drawing his attention to the shifting walls of reality. In that moment, Harlan saw the true horror of the war, not just the bodies piled high in the trenches, but the very fabric of reality itself torn apart by the constant barrage of hellish energies. He saw the infinite loops of non-Euclidean space that yawned open like a mouth of madness, and the eldritch abominations that lurked within those voids, waiting to devour the souls of men. With a scream that echoed through the fog-choked night, Harlan threw his flail aside and stumbled backward, away from the mangled corpse of Sister Mutant Valeria. The battle was lost, but in that moment, he realized it didn't matter, for they were all just pawns in a game played by gods who did not care about humanity's fate. As the darkness closed in around him, Harlan knew that he would never be the same again, his mind shattered by the horrors he had seen, his soul forever trapped within the labyrinthine walls of the Veil.